Hello, Bobby, Iki, and Archimedia here, and in this video, I'm going to talk about why, in my opinion, Rob Zombie's Halloween films are underappreciated horror masterpieces. Now, now, to be clear, I love the classic Halloween films for what they were. I love classic slasher films in general for what they were. However, you have to admit, looking back, most early slasher films, they were more comedic than truly disturbing, especially the sequels as they went on and on. Rob Zombie's Halloween films, however, they sort of brought the slasher genre back to those roots of being atmospheric yet psychological, brutal yet cerebral, and yes, they were necessarily more gory and detailed than the classics, but I didn't really have a problem with that, because if you're just gonna do the original shot for shot, what's the point of doing a remake or a reimagining or a reboot or whatever in the first place? And a lot of people said that giving Michael Myers an origin story took away from the horror of the character. Personally, I didn't feel that way. Did it humanize him somewhat? Sure, but those elements that made him terrifying in the classics, that combination of calculating and instinct, the shatter mask, the butcher knife, the weird ambiguous relationship with his family, all that was retained. So the essentials of the character were retained, and also so instead of the Curse of Thorn bullshit, there was much more of a focus on Michael's relationship with his sister and mother, and another complaint was that Rob Zombie cast his own wife as Michael's mother, and I didn't give a shit about that. I thought she did a good fucking job in the role in both films. She made the character sufficiently sympathetic in the first film, and she made the characters sufficiently sinister, yet not so much as Michael or Angel at the end, um, in the second film. And, like, oh, and like, a lot of people also complained that they were ripping off Friday the 13th, yet forgetting that both Friday the 13th and Halloween were ripping off Psycho. So, like, that's where that really came from. And besides, that's been a device in, like, sexual repression repression in the killer's mind being represented by dead mothers. That's been a trope in slasher films since the very first slasher film, Psycho. So that's where that comes from. Friday the 13th and Halloween both ripped that off from there. And you can actually look up interviews with like John Carpenter and Sean Cunningham, where they actually admit that that's where they got that idea from. And a lot of people also complained about the white horse apparition, despite the fact that in the opening text of the film, it's explained right away, like, what that symbolizes and its significance to Michael Myers and the Myers family curse. And so many of the haters on the Rob Zombie films, I find as well, are very contradictory in that they complain about the 2007 film that they explain too much, and yet they complain in H2 that they explain too little. So basically, what I'm saying is, when it comes to slasher film purists, or purists in general, really, of any particular genre, there's just no fucking pleasing these people, so why bother? And fortunately, like, I think someone like Rob Zombie is intelligent enough to understand that, and so that's why he's sort of stepped away from the possibility of making a third film, and like, apparently he didn't really enjoy directing H2 all that much, considering all the shit he got for the first reboot he made, and I think that's a shame, because I really do think that he is a modern day horror genius, and is very underappreciated, in that, like, he doesn't just like pander to the audience the way that most Hollywood directors do. Like, he lets people think about things, and like, he really exploits the fact that he's dealing with a visual medium, when, like, so many filmmakers, they overly rely on exposition and like basically baby coddling the audience, and Rob Zombie does not do that. He basically interprets the material visually as much as possible, and and he largely leaves those visuals open to interpretation, and like for someone like me who is so visual and cerebral, I very much appreciate that like he doesn't pander to the lowest fucking common denominator. I mean, yes, his films have a lot of swearing and gore and blood and all this, but like it's not overdone compared to a lot of modern horror films, and it and like all of it, and like he himself said in an interview, everything that he does has to have a reason behind it. And if you look carefully at his films and the way they're constructed, you can see that. Like of course, if you're just, if you're just like some moron who wants to be like pandered to, or you want everything to be exactly like the originals, in which case what's even the point of making a new version in the first fucking place? Like and also the and also and also I really loved Taylor Scout Compton as Laurie Strode slash Angel Myers. Like Jamie Lee Curtis is a fantastic actress. However, like her Laurie Strode really was not that great of a character past the first two films, and like the whole sister and like the whole sister reveal was done very like inorganically and like last minute for the sake of doing a twist with her, whereas with Taylor whereas with Scout Taylor Compton's version, she was established as Michael's baby sis from the very beginning, and so that sort of dramatic irony that the audience and Michael know this aspect of her history, and yet she doesn't for much of the film, is present throughout the first film, and then in the second she finds out, and and we get to see the progression of how that affects her psychologically, that this dude who, this dude who stalked her and chased her with a butcher knife and tried to kill her, is actually her older brother. Like, that sort of revelation that her entire life has been a lie, and the people she thought were her family really aren't, and this weird silent dude who tried to kill her is part of her real family. Like, that really has an interesting and organic psychological effect, and also I'm somewhat biased because Scout Taylor Compton is from Long Beach, and so am I. Well, I'm not from Long Beach originally. I was born in Glendale, but I've lived in Long Beach for most of my life, so, yeah, but I love Scout Taylor Compton. I love Tyler Mane. I think Tyler Mane was far superior as Michael Myers than he was as Sabretooth. Obviously, Liev Schreiber was the far superior Victor Creed than Tyler Mane. However, I think, considering what he was given in the first X-Men film, Tyler Mane did a decent job at Sabretooth. Actually, like, the way he played Sabretooth, as this mostly silent, animalistic, murderous creature, I knew just from that he could pull off Michael Myers, and he did. And Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Samuel Loomis. Of course, Donald Pleasance is incomparable in that role, but for a replacement, nobody could possibly, compare to Malcolm McDowell. Like the fact that Malcolm McDowell was a friend of Pleasance when he was alive, the fact that McDowell has a lot of experience playing psychopaths and people who make a career off of interacting and trying to reform psychopaths in A Clockwork Orange and films of that nature. It's a perfect contrast, and it also creates a sort of edge on your seat feeling that this shrink who's supposed to be the protagonist, he could himself snap at any moment and become a psychopath. path himself, and the fact that Donald Pleasance and Malcolm McDowell have in the past played psychopathic villains, like that makes them absolutely perfect for conveying that role and that tension and this sort of like Van Helsing figure for Michael Myers. Um, and William Forsythe as Ron White, the abusive stepfather. That was perfect casting as well. Like the fact that that he had to do most of his scenes with a broken leg. The fact that that like he created just this absolutely unsavory character that you're almost cheering on Michael Myers to kill. Like that was perfection. Like and like a lot of people thought that they explained too much, but personally, like I think that they explained just enough that people like understood how Michael ended up being a psychopath, yet like it doesn't really justify anything, and also he and also sort of that and like also that sort of gradual disassociation effect. I thought that that Dave Chase and Tyler all pulled that off extremely effectively. Same with Scout. Like a lot of people with their plague psychopaths going through like schizophrenic dissociative episodes, like they overplay it, but they didn't. They played it exactly right, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my unpopular opinion on the Rob Zombie Halloween films, and this has been Bobby, aka Anarchy Media, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity. Goodbye.